What's up, everyone? Dark Scream 217 here, and this is going to be a spoiler-ish review of Ikki Tousen Great Guardians. The first video itself was supposed to be as spoiler-free as possible. This is usually because I think it's better if I can just elaborate my opinion more, if I could just give out certain details I liked about a show I watched. And I'm actually thinking about doing this with every review I'm going to make from this point forward, if you guys actually welcome that idea. So with that said, let's for those, and of course, spoiler warnings. If you actually are interested in seeing the show but haven't seen it yet, wait until you finish watching the show and then come back to this video. All right. That said, let's begin with the cons of the show first, or the things I didn't like about it. Well, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the antagonist. I actually really did not like her. The antagonist in this season is the real Genpo Saji. For those who don't know, the first Genpo Saji of Nanio Academy in the first season of Ikki Tousen, it turns out that name, even though people still refer to him as Saji to this day, is just a ruse. His real identity is Owen Shishi, and he was one of the main antagonists in the first season, but then he turned face from that point forward after his plans were kind of thwarted. But however, the real Saji shows up, and much like Shishi, she has some mind control powers, and she even has a little bit of necromancy, which is how Hosen Ryofu came back from the dead. Her main goal was to basically get rid of all the fighters by having them cause conflict amongst themselves and turn against each other, using her mind control powers, and she would also use Ryomo's dragon spirit for hers to control, and use that to basically probably kill everyone else as well. But here's the thing. This character's written with a troubled past to where she was bullied for her magic powers. Again, much like, bullying Tenny for being a murderer, I kind of see that as a risk fucking move. Even with the X-Men series, which people get bullied for, having the ability to control fire, I always kind of found that, pretty stupid, because that's almost a death wish. And unlike Tenny from Dragon Destiny, she actually did use her powers in a flashback scene to have all the kids who bullied her beat the living crap out of each other. They don't show anything, but it is kind of horrific, because you still hear the screamings in the background. You even hear a girl going, "Why are you doing this?" So yeah, at least she was able to somewhat stand up for herself, even though a lot of people were preaching nonviolence, which is a funny thing, because that's almost the theme of this season. I'm sorry if there was anyone who actually found her to be a sympathetic villain, but I just thought they were really trying too hard to make her to feel for her. And yeah, everyone's been bullied. I've been bullied for really stupid reasons, to be honest with you guys. But man, it did look like they were trying way too hard with her. And because of her troubled past, she resents the whole world, including the fires themselves, even though she has really no personal vendetta against any of them to do anything she did. So I just really did not like this villain that much. So with her psychic powers, her mind control powers, which are triggered via kissing, by the way, because we have to fill the over-excessive fan service quota, and Ken Akamatsu did it a few times with Negima. She actually has sleeper agents. Admittingly, I kind of like her plan, the way she works out her plan. If she was a more villainous, Emperor Palpatine-ish kind of antagonist, I would actually really like her. But I do like how she at least was kind of plotting it out. She basically turned almost everyone she got in contact with into a sleeper agent, and then she could just, pull an element of surprise on them. However, there is a cost to this with her. It would actually put a physical and mental strain on her body every time she'd use those powers. However, here's the kicker. I mentioned a little bit about the non-violence theme. The whole theme is like basically love and peace in this season. The way every fighter was basically basically getting rid of the mind control powers is by not fighting. It's basically talking to them and getting rid of, and that just breaks off the mind control spell. It worked the first time when Kanu was trying to talk Ryubi out of it. Then it worked again when Chubo got Sonsaku out of it. Yeah, she even possessed her once. And it even worked another time when Shishioen was trying to get a really berserker crazed Hosen Ryofu out of it too. By the way, that particular scene, I kind of laughed the first time when I saw that, because Ryofu was basically growling like a dog the whole time. See, the thing is, Saji, or Shishi as he's referred to, he basically hugs her and he lies on his back and tries to keep a good strain on her, and then she's just going. He even bites on his freaking shoulder like a rabid dog. They're trying to have a moment, but here I am laughing because in the background I can hear. Anyways, another problem I have with this anime, which coincidentally involves one of the new characters, as like the second Saji, would be Chubo Sonken, Hakufu's supposed little sister. Now, I actually have nothing against her as a character. Who she is that she's supposed to be this stark contrast to Hakufu. Modest, polite, well-mannered. She's supposed to be, her relevance in this season is that she's supposed to be some sort of like peacemaker symbol, because every time they were about to start, whenever certain characters would actually spot Ryofu and they would look like they would pick a fight, or they would have some confusion about her, but then Chuba would show up, quote from Sun Tzu, which he does frequently, and then everyone gets launched. She's supposed to be this symbol for peacemaking, and I have nothing against that. But there is something that really ticks me off, and it involves a plot twist that was revealed at the tail end of the series. And this whole time, I've been thinking to myself, dear God, I hope it's not like revealed to where she is in fact not Hakufu's sister at all. Please don't let it be something that predictable. Please, please, please. Well, guess what? She's not Hakufu's sister at all. Her real identity is that she's Shokyo, who is supposed to be Koken Shuyu's wife. Or they were a married couple in their previous lives. And they kind of sort of tease that. They seem to be, whenever Koken and Chubo were around, they had this like shy, lovey-dovey couple attitude over each other. And so, yeah, they were kind of sort of hinting it, but at the same time, I've been thinking to myself, why? First off, she said in the episode, she's not who, she actually says, and I quote, "I'm not who you think I am." However, even with that twist, they still think who you think you are. In fact, they even said, you know what, why don't we just we're still going to call you Chubo. We're still going to refer to you as our sister. Can we just continue doing that? And she's like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. I'm like, then what was the damn point? First off, nothing shocking or revelation that nothing about her as a character altered at all. Well, nothing, no new perspectives or anything. Everything was the same with her, so that's not really something that's not a good sign when you make a plot twist with any character. And then the other and another thing is that if you were to somehow skip that whole scene entirely and that whole plot twist revelation, If you were like in the John for the long time, but you let the DVD player running and then you come back, you wouldn't even notice. You would not notice. And finally, they built this up. At the end of episode 10, she was like, I have a confession to make, to be continued. And I wonder if the people who actually did care about the plot and characters were kind of interested in what they were looking for into the next episode. She was building this up. They were building this up to be something. I wouldn't say something big, but they were building up to be something. And it wasn't. It was all nothing. All nothing. Okay, now that I got that on my chest, we can move on to the stuff I really did like. Just like in Dragon Destiny, I like the art style and animation. Vast improvement over season 1's JC staff produced anime series. And there was a couple fight scenes. Most of them could have been longer, but at least I got something out of it. They had a few. There was a fight between Kanu and Ryofu, and it's not really spoiling anything because that's how the anime literally opens. They fight over some storm, like a black stormy sky and some grassy field, probably somewhere in the outskirts of Saito, I'm guessing, since they're the ones that are like hidden in the mountains. That was really fun to watch. That really did get me hyped. So I was like, ooh, this season could be good, you know. But then, of course, it cuts to more filler. In fact, most of the series just feels kind of filler comedy-ish, which I have nothing against because I really... Yeah, the story itself could take a break since there were so many plot threads going on with the first and second season that it did need to slow down things a bit. And it was being a not so serious slice of life-ish episodes, like Hakufu getting a job while the Sato girls were eating at the restaurant where Hakufu was working in. Then there was a second episode where they introduced this one supposed antagonist, Enin, but God, man, he is such a jobber bitch that I don't even want to talk about him. And the third episode, it's funny. Third episode, I've learned something about the third episode. Apparently, we've all been saying karaoke all wrong. Apparently, it was in the English dub, mind you, they were actually pronouncing it as karaoke. I'm like, karaoke? I actually had to pause the video and look it up online to see if it really is pronounced that way, and it turns out, yeah, it is supposed to be pronounced that way, but we always pronounced it as karaoke. So I was like, okay. Props for the director noticing that pronunciation, decided to go with that. I'll give him credit there. But I find that episode kind of funny because it looks like they might advance the plot because they're trying to figure out why Ryofu's back from the dead. So they take her to this clinic. I forgot the doctor's name already, but he's the doctor that gives Ryomo her eye patches to conceal her dragon. But that whole thing gets interrupted when Hakufu notices that there's a karaoke deal that she wanted to check out, and they just spend more time over there. And meanwhile, Ryomo, even though she was like confused and a little bit angry that Hosen Ryofu's not only back from the dead, but she's a complete amnesiac, she eventually does find her at the karaoke bar and decides to accept her as a friend, which I thought, that's sweet. That really is. Almost makes me forget about the time where Ryofu molested the hell out of Ryomo in the first season of Ikki Tousen for no reason other than the fact that she was kind of horny. Wow, that completely sounded snarky and sarcastic. But to be honest, I actually had no issues with her doing that in this season. I really didn't. She wanted to be friends with Ryofu, trying to help her remember who she was. I'm all for that. Ryomo was actually like one of the few things I liked about the first season. Yeah, her maid costume was all kinds of question marks. Other than fan service reasons, why would she wear that as some sort of battle attire? But other than that, her character was she is the most interesting character of Nanio Academy to me. Speaking of Ryomo, this isn't really a pro or con. This is just me talking about my reaction towards a particular scene. All 3 seasons of Ikki Tousen dub, there was some profanity, but I don't think anyone actually said the word fuck before in this season for any context. So I was completely caught off guard in a particular flashback scene where Ryomo was told to keep a promise from Ryofu. In that scene, Ryofu catches Ryomo off guard with a sweep kick, and Ryomo, she angrily reacts, "You fucking bitch!" And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Watch your fucking language. But really, that's just something I wanted to point out. Really, it's just something I wanted to point out as a reaction. I'm sorry, I was going off on a tangent a little. I was talking about the animation here. I just rambled off into other things. Anyways, I am just going to mention this one fight scene that's probably my favorite in this season. It would have to be Hakufu and Kakutan versus Kakuen. Which happened in episode 6, which also is when the plot picked up a little more. Kakutan meets Ryofu on the bus, and both characters have amnesia. Kakutan has amnesia because of the events of the second season. He almost got killed by his friend, who was completely possessed at the time. But those two are like, "Oh, you don't know who you are? Me neither. Let's be friends." And they both go to Rakio High School, which, because of Totaku's fall, the entire high school is abandoned ruin. I guess him being a ruthless tyrant and fighter from the Three Kingdoms era just surpasses all kinds of campus logic. Anyways, however, they do meet Sanji, and they also meet Kakuen, who is basically getting Kakutan to come back to Kyosho because Soso is alive. Apparently found his body. They never really. He does show up at the at episode 11. It was something I didn't mention in my review because it would kind of be a spoiler for those who've seen Dragon Destiny. But he does show up, and he is alive. I don't know what's become of him or what's happened to him, but he's alive. And Kakuen wanted Kakutan to come back to Kyosho, but he had some trust issues. And he eventually finds Hakufu as he was trying to avoid her. And they both get into a fight with her. Hakufu was getting into a fight with her first, but then Kakutan got ticked off because he didn't like, getting his ass saved all the time. So he had to take her on, but Kakuen was beating the living crap out of him. However, he was slowly regaining his memories as this happened. And he finally found out who he was. He throws Kakuen to the wall, and then he makes a huge crater-sized punch to the wall. He didn't really hit her. He just hit next to her, kind of scared her a little. And he said, "Look, I'm going to go meet my bud when I'm ready, when I feel like it, okay?" And then she respects his decision and then leaves. However, Kakuen was later revealed to be also one of the sleeper agents of Saji anyways, who was basically stirring up some shit in Kyosho Academy. Another thing I want to mention is episode 5, which is, it's just a typical beach episode. And it plays out almost as you expect, hanging out on the beach, swimsuits, dicking around, having fun. There were some funny moments, like there was these two guys that were at this little snack bar that Hakufu and Koken and Chubo were working, to get some money. However, they were sexually harassing Chubo. Hakufu got ticked off, destroyed both them and the snack bar, and they're out of the job. But hey, look on the bright side, Hakufu gets to play around the beach like she wanted to do anyways. But on the other hand, they're kind of short of money for that little crazy trip that they wanted to do. Later in the episode, about halfway into the episode actually, Ryofu and Ryoma were supposed to meet up with Hakufu at the snack bar, but then the place was in ruins. Ryoma was like, yeah, this is somehow Hakufu's fault. And those two guys again, not learning their lesson the first fucking time around, do the same to Ryofu. Even though they're kind of bandaged up, and one of them was wearing a freaking neck brace, and Ryoma beat the shit out of them, and those two were like, God, we gotta stop hitting on these girls who could beat the crap out of us, man. We fucking suck. So I got a good laugh out of that. And another episode, but the thing is, it just played out like an average episode. I was like, okay, this is nothing new. I've seen almost every other anime has a beach episode anyways, and it plays almost have you've seen it 100,000 times. However, there was a later in the episode, I forgot it was either Hakufu or Chubo. A map is discovered, and they thought it was a treasure map. But it's actually just a warning sign of. It was actually just a warning that a particular area of the ocean, of the beach, was shark infested waters. And when that was revealed, I was thinking to myself, if they started fighting a couple of sharks, this would be a somewhat above average episode. Had my fingers crossed, and sure enough, sharks had to be fought. And had the episode been a little longer and more about the shark fighting, it would actually be my favorite episode. But I got a little bit of it. I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. So Choen was knocking out some sharks. I don't know if they were killing them or knocking them unconscious, but when they were knocked and turned over and floating on their belly side, she was actually standing on top of them like a platform. And there was another scene where a huge giant ass shark that roared for some reason was about to attack Chubo and Ryubi. And both Hakufu and Kanu basically both do a dual jump kick and trying to knock it out of their way. But then it wasn't enough, and then Ryoma herself came in and assisted and knocked the shark out of the way. But then apparently that shark just really hates people or something, because he comes back, tries to get them, and then Ryofu used her OP skills that were dormant inside her to knock the shark to finish off the shark. Didn't really kill it, just knocked it out of the way. Whatever. There were some sharks fighting. That's what more beach episodes need. Sharks to be fought. Anyways, what other things I liked? Well, let's see. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I do like it when when the show is more I like the episodes where it is a little more comedic and they don't take themselves seriously. Definitely helps when you have an extremely excessive ass ecchi show like this. Well, a lot of people are turned off at the fact that in the Ikki Tousen takes itself way too seriously, despite the fact that it's like panty shot every 5 seconds. It's like that during the second half of this season too. But at this point, you either gave up on the show, or I don't know. The people who hate this show wouldn't even be watching this season or even care enough to see this review. So whatever. You've ventured on this point. You've gotten this far into the dungeon. You might as well just keep continuing. But yeah, I actually did like some of the first few episodes, even though the plot wasn't advancing as much. But at least it was a little more fun to watch, because it was a little more comedic in nature, and they use the ecchi for humor, even though it's pretty much dry, predictable humor at this point. Like I said, you've seen one show. I've watched too much anime. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I watched too much. But then again, I am an anime fan, and it is my hobby, and it's really nothing I plan to fix anytime soon, to be honest with you guys. Should I even talk about the ending of the anime? I thought the ending was, well, it wasn't as good as Dragon Destiny, but it was okay. It wasn't really bad. It ended how you would expect at this point. Saji loses control of Ryomo's dragon. Hakufu, basically talks her into being not, opens her heart, as Saji would say, or Shishi, the Saji everyone else knows. They befriend her. She befriends them back. And Ryofu was fighting a possessed Ryomo. We saw at least the last bits of that, and she was basically telling her how she should live her own destiny and blah, 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 that kind of talk. Live as her heart desires. And Ryofu herself was slowly disappearing and, going back to the afterlife. And she was saying her goodbyes to not only Ryomo, but to Hakufu and Chubo as well. Which kind of sucks. I wanted her to stay for the entirety of the series, but oh well. And both Chubo and Saji were living with Hakufu and the others for a while at Nanio Kami, but then they say their goodbyes, and that's pretty much it. It ends with some narration from Kokin, and it does show this really cool image of like Hakufu and all the Nanio Big Four, like on an old Three Kingdoms era boat, dressed in warrior clothing. That was a really cool image. I did not save that print screen cap for you guys. I was originally going to put that in the review, but I completely forgot about it. Completely forgot to do that while doing the editing, but oh well. So those, little bits and pieces of Ikki Tousen Great Guardians. I did not want this video to last more than, I don't want this to go past a half hour. But those are just most of the things I did like. I hope it puts at least a little, put some things into perspective on why I actually did enjoy this season more than the other two. The first season, I still watch it, and I've seen it like a third time around. It's still pretty damn bad. Second season had a lot of bad things, but also had a lot of good things to make me say, this may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I managed to, I liked what I saw, despite my problems with it. And this third season, at this point, either people continued on forward or people have given up. I'm one of the guys who decided to continue on forward, and I actually managed to like more of what I saw. And Funimation's actually planning to release the fourth season in a couple months, and obviously I'm going to review that. Now, I don't know if I'm going to review that and the OVA separate or review them both. But I do want to take a break from Ikki Tousen to move on to my next review that I'm actually really looking forward to doing. And it's going to be a Lupin movie, if you guys haven't noticed, or if you haven't seen my previous videos. There's a special reason why I'm reviewing that particular Lupin movie. But yeah, kind of want to take a break from Ikki Tousen, because I have to go back to it soon. And I hate to announce this, guys, but I asked to vote for another anime, which would either be Labyrinth of Flames or Agent Aika. I'm going to cancel that one. And if there are people asking why, I may make a follow-up video explain why, but I'm running out of time. So I might actually review something different or do another review or another video entirely, but I just really don't feel like reviewing any of those two shows. I know people voted for Agent Aika, but I'm not in the mood to watch that show again. So, with that said, hope you look forward to the Lupin the Third Mystery and Ammo review, and I plan to make another discussion topic so people would get involved a little more. But for this video, if you have seen Ikki Tousen's Great Guardians, whether it's the Funimation version or you did see this back in 2008, feel free to post your thoughts. With that said, this is Darkscream217 signing out.